Hi everyone, Professor Chacon here. Welcome back for our Module 2 lecture over non-traditional circulating and non-circulating materials. So in other words, things besides books. This presentation was created by Dr. Loomis. I went in, I've edited it a little bit, but she deserves all the credit. And so let's talk about other things that you will have in your library besides books. They can include all sorts of technology, from playways to computers to CD players. Some libraries even still have the old TV on wheels that you roll around. Ebooks, cameras, hotspots. It's really just going to depend on a lot of what you inherit and then a lot of what you purchase and that your constituents would use. So if you don't know what a Playway is, I linked it here so we could take a look. A Playway is a portable device with their preloaded audiobook on it. They do have other types of things as well, but for the most part, it's just like a small device that they can take with them and it has the book loaded on it. So those are Playways. I don't see those as much anymore. What I do see a lot of, however, pardon my bookmarks, are computers. Overwhelmingly, librarians are put in charge of technology as opposed to the technology people on the campus or in the district. So that means alongside books and other non-book materials, you might be responsible for labeling, cataloging, creating inventory of all the computers on your campus, including checking them in and out. That is like a whole nother conversation. We don't necessarily want to like open that up in this particular course, but it's just something to be aware of. Pardon me. Some other things that your library might have are maps, photographs, and manuscripts. And let's add yearbooks in there too. Usually these are things that people will use in the library and not check out because they have, such a value that it would be a burden to replace it, or it's not necessarily able to be replaced. Libraries tend to have at least one or two copies of yearbooks from years past and current years in the library, not for checkout though. I will tell you, one time I was working in a middle school library and we had that. And the librarian before me let them check it out. And so when, you come into a library, you tend to kind of just do what was done until you get a feel for it. So that's what I did. And so many just did not come back. And those are valuable because there's like limited print. So definitely do not let those yearbooks go anywhere. Other types of things that you could lend out would be seeds for a seed library or actual plants that are already grown, kitchen tools and appliances, baking sheets, mixers, and then actual like physical tools. And we're going to look at some examples of this here. But I did have a seed library in my elementary library and in my high school library. So you can see what it looks like here in my high school library. The students could take up to two. If they grew something that produced seeds, then I would just ask them if they could donate some seeds back. So for instance, like a sunflower, a student grew a sunflower successfully and then brought me some of the seeds from that sunflower. So I thought that was pretty cool. Here's what it looks like when I gave it to the elementary school and also like promoted it. I created a whole website about it. And this tells about what the seed library is, the basic idea. I had them fill out a Google form. And then, of course, I had it in English and Spanish because it was a bilingual campus. This is the Google form where they requested seeds. And then the different types of seeds we had at that time. Then I also had extra resources where they could learn how to care for seeds and also read books about seeds and plants and so forth. Click on that. I imagine that link has expired because I have not been at that library for a little bit, but this at least is still going. Now you will receive these links in this slide deck. So don't worry if I'm going a little too fast and you're like, I missed that. You will be able to take a look and kind of poke around and see what I've done in regards to that. So, oops. Oh gosh, I'm in preview now. Let's keep going here. Let's look at the Library of Things here in Coppell, Texas. This is Cosby Library. This is a public library, so it is a little bit different. But they have a library of things, and I think that's something really cool to call it a library of things. They have a fact here that lets them know how to get the thing, how long they can have the thing, so on and so on. And then they have like the little list of things that they have. So you see they have some electronics. This is so cool. A karaoke machine. Like how fun is that? Outdoors, games, STEM. And so as you're looking at this, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I love this idea, but what if? What if I lend it out and they don't bring it back? When I had my STEM kits for parents to check out and take home, I had a list of how much everything cost. And when they filled out the Google form requesting the kit, they had to indicate that they understood if something was lost or missing, that they would be responsible for the cost. So you want to make sure you kind of cover yourself like that and that your administration is on board with it as well. Okay, let's go back. Oh my gosh, it just won't let me. Okay, present. There we go. Another library things is it's a public library again, mainly because they tend to be, of course, more public facing with what they offer. And this kind of shows you, this will at least give you an idea of like the verbiage to use for your library of things. And then maybe some ideas of things to buy for your library of things. Okay, and they have story kits, which is cool. For a description of each kit, download the PDF. Pardon me. So this talks about, the chess kit comes with this many pieces, a roll-up board, a tote bag, so that the person who checks it out knows what to bring back. It's very important that you include that with whatever it is you're checking out, so that, for instance, if you're checking out a guitar with a pick, the pick makes its way back. Okay, so here is your turn. These are public libraries with libraries of things. And so it's great to kind of take a look at these and get some ideas. Start thinking, oh, what are some things that I could have in my own school library that are not necessarily books for the students to check out. And then you have to think about how much time will I have to dedicate to this. So like for the seed library, that was like, I just set it up and then it was really just kind of self-running for the older kids. For the smaller kids, it was more the parents requested and I just either sent the seeds home with the kid or I left them in the front office for the parent. So those are some considerations to have in mind as you go through this. All right, so now, oh, this graphic is blurry. Let's talk about Makerspace. Most of you will probably already know what a makerspace is, but just in case you don't, it is a place in a library where students can just kind of tinker around. There's not necessarily like a goal to it. It's more of an exploration, and that's kind of what it says here. It provides the opportunity to innovate. It's a really great place for students to take risk and fail in a safe environment and learn that fail means first attempt in learning. It also helps them kind of learn what they're good at, like creatively. Problem solving skills. I had something called a STEM challenge wheel. They would spin it, and then there would be a challenge that they could use any kind of material with it to make. So, for instance, they would spin it, and it would land on build a flower. Well, they could choose, Legos. They could choose Magna-Tiles, paper, whatever material they wanted to build the flower. It creates real world applications for concepts and out of this world applications. Now, with all that being said, we know these are great things. They're amazing. It's great for the kids and the kids love it. However, do not think that you have to have an entire room in your library dedicated to a makerspace. So depending on my library, it could be an entire room. My last library that was at the high school, it was a two-story library. The second story had a learning area and then an enclosed glass room that was the makerspace. But in my elementary library, the makerspace was this section in the back where I had a bunch of long tables and shelves and drawers and just things like that and signage. And it was just like a space. It could even be on a cart. You could just load the stuff up on a cart with some signs, and that way it's a little bit more mobile. It could be a combination of those. It just really depends again, your library, your district, your administration, and then also what you inherit, and then also what you're able to purchase. All right, so this is another public library makerspace. This goes into just some of the equipment that you might want to think about purchasing. Now, what I'm looking at right now is very expensive. Like a Glowforge, it's very expensive. 3D printers, they don't necessarily have to be expensive, but they can be expensive to maintain. Cricut, sewing machines, button makers, things like that. So that can maybe give you some ideas. For my elementary school, excuse me, I had like snap circuit kits, I had paper circuits, I had a ton of Lego bricks, magnet tiles, and all sorts of paper type materials if they wanted to like make a card or create something like that. For the high school, we did have button makers. We had a sewing machine. We had a Cricut. We had some 3D printers. So the older kids tend to have more of that type of stuff. Now, elementary can absolutely have 3D printers. I did have a couple 3D printers in my elementary school, but it has to be a 3D printer that an elementary student can use. So like a Dremel is pretty easy to use. And then there's some more we could talk about, but I don't want to get too deep into it. Let's keep going. Oh, it keeps kicking me out of present, guys. Okay. So there is a book here, or I'm sorry, an area here where you can kind of explore the Tinkerspace Maker Commons. Okay. Last time I checked, that link did work. So I'm going to have to find out what happened there, but I will fix that by the time you guys get these slides. There's stuff all over the internet about this. What it looks like, how you can set it up, all the different things you could have in it. It could be a little overwhelming, quite honestly. And then if you don't have something that looks like this, you might think that maybe you're doing a disservice for your students, but that is not the case at all. Just remember, like, what works for you, your school, your library could look very different than somebody else. And we're all just doing the best we can. Right now, we're going to take a look at my elementary website that I made, just to kind of show you how I presented some of this stuff to the parents and to the students. So let's go here. So for instance, when I talked about Library of Things, I talked about Storybook STEM at home. These are the kits that they could take with them, take home and do Storybook STEM at home with their families. There's what is it? How do I request it? And then all the different ones. I'm just going to click on one. Okay. Oh, that file does not exist anymore. Probably because I don't work there anymore. But in it, it just talked about the materials and then gave instructions for the parents. Like with After the Fall, it was Lego bricks and it was to build a stable wall in a way for the plastic egg to get up and down, so on and so forth. It's just some examples. All right, let's go back. Okay. Lego Leaders and STEM Gems. So these are clubs that I had that were STEM focused. So we did make use of the makerspace area for those clubs, and you're certainly welcome to kind of explore those as well. my high school, I did not develop those particular areas as much, but I did link to something called a virtual makerspace for them, as well as busy boxes that I had in the library. So that's kind of like a library of things. And these, they would come and check them out for me and use them in the library, and there are different themes. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, I have posted videos and pictures and all that about the busy boxes. All right, so I will give you plenty of time to explore, all of the links within this. And then if you have any questions or any follow-up comments, please feel free to send me an email or create something on the discussion board. And I'll see you guys later.